Okay, so picture this, right? You're framed for this, like, huge crime that you didn't even commit. And it's so scandalous it could, like, literally take down an entire monarchy.
Sounds
Right.
intense.
Well, that's actually what we're going to dive into today.
Oh, wow.
It's called the Diamond Necklace Affair. And it's a true story, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. All about intrigue and deception and how powerful public perception was in pre-revolutionary France.
Pre-revolutionary France.
Yeah.
That's a powder keg, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what makes this story so interesting, I think, is how it shows like all this deep social and political anxiety that was already, kind of bubbling under the surface of French society
Yeah.
back in the 1780s. So it's not just about some missing necklace.
No, definitely not.
It's way more than that. It's about how trust erodes. It's about like how fragile power can be.
Yeah, right.
And all these forces that eventually led to the revolution.
Revolution.
Like big stuff.
It really puts it into perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about, like you said, jewels or whatever.
Mhm.
It's about, like, how people saw things and how one single event could lead to such a massive change,
Wow.
right?
Huge.
Yeah. So let's rewind a bit, shall we? Let's go back to that, like, super opulent world of Versailles, where everything was, like, extravagance was the norm. And this, of course, is where Marie Antoinette, the young queen of France,
Oh, yeah.
she was already under so much scrutiny.
Yeah, she was in a tough spot, wasn't she? I mean, everyone...
This woman, she claimed to be, from some noble lineage, but actually she was like a total con artist.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a master manipulator. And she was really good at, like, seeing people's weaknesses and taking advantage of them.
Exploiting.
Exploiting them, yeah. She saw a chance here. Like, the court was obsessed with status.
Yeah.
And there was this cardinal who was just desperate for the queen's, like, favor and attention.
Desperate.
Yeah, desperate. And she just knew how to use that.
Yeah, Cardinal de Rohan, right? Like, he had so much power and influence, but he was head over heels for the queen.
I know, it's kind of sad, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And de la Motte, she, uses that. She manipulates him. She plays on his, ambition, his desire for the queen's approval.
Yeah, this perfect bait.
Oh, she was good.
It's like something out of Shakespeare.
Right. He really is, yeah.
This ambitious cardinal blinded by his, like, love or infatuation or whatever it was. And, of course, in the middle of all of this, you have this insane diamond necklace. So it was originally made for Louis the Quixote's mistress, but then he died, so it was just, like, sitting there unsold.
Unsold. Why? What was wrong with it?
Oh, it was massive. I mean, we're talking hundreds of diamonds, thousands of carats, completely over the top, especially for the time.
Wow, so not exactly subtle.
Yeah, it was like the opposite of subtle. It was like a giant billboard screaming, "Look at how rich we are!"
Oh, so it would be like the worst thing for Marie Antoinette.
Oh, the worst. Because, see, she was actually trying to be, like, more relatable.
Yeah.
Moving away from all that over-the-top stuff her predecessors were known for. This necklace would just totally undermine everything she was working towards.
Makes sense. And it would have just given her critics, like, more ammunition.
Right, yeah, for sure. It would just fuel the fire.
Okay, so we have a desperate cardinal, a scheming con woman, and a necklace that's basically a PR nightmare waiting to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when things get, like, seriously crazy. You see, de la Motte, she manages to convince the cardinal that the queen, like, secretly wants this necklace.
He does.
Well, that's what she tells him. She says the queen needs his help to buy it, discreetly,
Just
away from prying eyes, Because obviously, if it got out that she was buying this ridiculously extravagant thing, it would be a disaster.
Of course, yeah. So how does she convince him?
Okay, so get this.
Forged letters.
Forged letters.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
she mimicked the queen's handwriting, even used phrases the queen was known for.
Wow, she did her research.
She was meticulous. And then get this, she sets up this secret meeting in the gardens of Versailles at night.
Whoa, a secret meeting in the gardens of Versailles. That sounds super clandestine.
Right. And to make it even more convincing, she finds this young woman who looks a lot like the queen, like a dead ringer.
A double.
Yeah, a double. And this woman stands in for Marie Antoinette during the whole meeting.
Oh my gosh.
It was brilliant, in a twisted kind of way. It's like a scene straight out of a movie.
Right. So under the cover of darkness, de la Motte has the cardinal convinced that he's, like, handing a rose and a secret message to the queen.
Oh, wow.
And of course, the cardinal's totally buying it. He thinks he's, like, gaining her favor.
It's amazing how she was able to pull this all off.
Yeah. It really shows how much power perception had. I mean, the cardinal was so caught up in his own desires that he didn't even question any of it.
He just wanted to believe it.
And meanwhile, the real Marie Antoinette.
Oh, she had no clue what was going on. None. It was all happening right under her nose.
Talk about being in the dark.
Right. And that's what made de la Motte's plan so brilliant, right? Like, she used all the existing suspicions and tension around the queen. So even though it was this crazy story, it still seemed believable.
So did she get away with it?
Well, that's what she thought. She had the necklace, and she was ready to, like, disappear with it.
Yeah.
But there's one problem. When you have a diamond necklace that massive, it's pretty hard to, keep it a secret.
That's true, yeah. Right. So eventually, the jewelers start getting nervous. They're not getting paid. And they go directly to the queen.
Oh.
Yeah, uh-oh.
And I'm guessing the queen doesn't know what they're talking about.
Not a clue.
Oh, this is going to be bad.
It was bad. Like, she's furious, obviously. She's been implicated in a theft.
I mean, who wouldn't be furious?
And to make it worse, the whole thing plays right into, like, how people already saw her as frivolous, extravagant.
Oh, this is a disaster for her image.
The worst.
So what does she do?
Well, at this point, the king, he realizes how bad this could be for the monarchy, so he decides to take action. Like, big action. He orders everyone involved arrested.
Everyone.
Everyone. Which means this whole, like, dirty little secret, it's going to be blasted out in the open. Public trials.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this whole thing, it goes from being like whispers in the court to a national spectacle.
And let me tell you, these trials, they did not go how anyone expected.
Oh, I bet. So that's for next time then.
No.
That's for next time. The trials, they were a game changer.
Can't wait to hear about it.
Buckle up.
So these trials, they didn't exactly go as planned for the monarchy.
Really? I'm surprised. You'd think they would have, like, cleared the queen's name.
It should have been, open and shut. Right.
Exactly.
But instead of clearing her name, they actually made things worse.
Oh, wow. How'd that happen?
Well, you got to remember the context. I mean, this is pre-revolutionary France, right? The people were, like, fed up. They were struggling, financially, and they were ready to believe anything bad about the royals.
So basically they were looking for a scapegoat.
Exactly. And these trials, they became this, like, public forum for all that anger and resentment.
So it wasn't really about justice anymore.
Not really. It became more about airing grievances. The public felt like the monarchy was out of touch, and these trials just, like, amplified that feeling.
Yeah, I can see that. So how did the key players spin this to their advantage? I mean, they were the ones who orchestrated the whole thing.
Well, let's start with Cardinal de Rohan. Now, he was a powerful guy, right? Prince of the church from a very influential family. And his lawyer, he was smart. He painted de Rohan as this well-meaning but, kind of naive guy.
Blinded by love, right?
Exactly. He made it seem like de Rohan just really wanted to please the queen.
So they used his infatuation to his advantage.
Totally. And to make matters worse, de Rohan chose to be tried by the Parlement of Paris.
Okay, why was that bad?
Oh, the Parlement, they were, like, notorious for challenging the king.
So they weren't exactly, like, pro-monarchy.
Not at all. In this move, it allowed de Rohan to frame himself as the victim, like he was standing up for the people against the king.
So he flipped the script. It's like he put the monarchy on trial.
Exactly. And the Parlement, they loved it. They saw a chance to assert their own power, right? They ended up acquitting him.
Acquitting him?
Yeah, completely. Huge blow to the monarchy. I mean, it implied that the queen, she could be, associated with this scandal.
Right, right. Even the suggestion that she was involved was bad enough.
Oh, yeah. It played into all the worst fears about her. And then, to top it off, they acquitted Nicole Leguay, too.
Wait, the queen's double? The one who pretended to be her in the garden?
The one and only.
How did they get her off?
Oh, they painted her as this, like, innocent victim, a poor girl manipulated by these powerful figures. Plus, she had just given birth in prison.
In prison?
Yeah, in the Bastille. So the public, they felt sorry for her.
I mean, I guess I can kind of see it.
Right. So here you have, like, everyone involved getting off scot-free.
Except the queen.
Exactly. The only truly innocent one. And get this, even Jeanne de la Motte, the mastermind, she managed to spin it.
I mean, she was convicted, right?
She was, but she claimed she was descended from the Valois, the old royal family. So she painted herself as a victim of the current monarchy, seeking revenge.
So she was playing the victim card.
Oh, big time. And it worked to a certain extent. I mean, she escaped prison and fled to England. Yeah, and from there, she just kept publishing all these crazy stories about the queen, accusing her of like everything, sexual depravity, treason, the works.
Oh, come on. Surely no one believed that stuff.
Well, unfortunately, in the climate of the time, these rumors, they spread like wildfire. People were ready to believe anything bad about the queen, especially after the whole necklace affair.
It just added fuel to the fire, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It reinforced this image of Marie Antoinette as like frivolous, out of touch, maybe even dangerous.
And the king, how did this affect him?
Not great. He basically came across as weak and incompetent, like unable to control his own wife. Some people even thought he was, complicit in her supposed misdeeds.
Oh, wow. So the whole affair just tarnished the monarchy's image.
Absolutely. They went from being symbols of power to like figures of ridicule. And the timing couldn't have been worse. France was already struggling, financially and socially. People were hungry for change. And this scandal, it just pushed them closer to the edge.
It's like this whole thing exposed all the cracks that were already there.
Exactly. It was a symptom of a much bigger problem. And the monarchy, they were just too slow to realize how serious it was.
You know, it's kind of crazy how this whole story, with the necklace and the cardinal and the con woman, it all ties back to the French Revolution. Like, it makes you realize how these big historical events, the ones we think of as, like, inevitable, they were actually shaped by all these, like, smaller things.
Yeah.
Right? These choices people made, incidents that seemed random at the time.
Yeah, and the thing is, the diamond necklace affair, it wasn't just some, like, isolated incident. It captured, like, perfectly all the anxieties and frustrations that people were feeling back then.
Yeah, it really showed how out of touch the monarchy was, like that whole let them eat cake thing.
Oh, right.
Which, by the way, Marie Antoinette probably never even said.
Really?
Yeah, it's probably just a rumor that stuck.
Huh. Well, I guess even if she didn't say it, the sentiment, it still resonated with people, right?
Yeah, totally. Because unfortunately for the monarchy, it wasn't that far off from the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, France was in a really bad place financially. Like years of extravagant spending, expensive wars, a tax system that wasn't working. It was a mess.
Yeah, a recipe for disaster.
Totally. And guess who ended up paying for it?
The people.
The people.
Mm-hmm.
Food prices were skyrocketing. People couldn't find jobs. And it just felt like, the rich were getting richer while everyone else was struggling to survive.
Right, so you had all this resentment building up, especially towards the nobility and the clergy.
They were seen as, like, untouchable, right? Living in their own little bubble while everyone else was suffering.
Exactly, and they were looking for someone to blame.
And then, boom, the diamond necklace affair happens.
Yeah.
Suddenly, there's this perfect target. The queen. The whole monarchy, really.
The perfect scapegoat.
It's like a perfect storm. And you
Yeah.
have this scandal that makes the monarchy look terrible. People are struggling to put food on the table. And everyone's starting to feel like the whole system is rigged against them.
Yeah, a powder keg ready to explode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have King Louis XVI trying to navigate all of this. He was a good guy, supposedly, but not a great king. Like, he wanted to fix things, but he just wasn't very decisive.
Indecisive.
Yeah, indecisive. And a lot of his attempts to, make things better just kind of backfired.
Like what kind of attempts?
Well, you remember that whole thing with Beaumarchais,
Beaumarchais?
the playwright?
Oh, right.
He wrote The Marriage of Figaro, which was like this super popular play that made fun of the aristocracy. And the king, he tried to ban it.
Oh, wow. Not a smart move.
Nope. It just made Beaumarchais even more popular, and it made the king look even worse. Like he was trying to silence dissent.
Right, so it just fueled the fire even more.
Exactly. So the king, he's stuck. He tries to appease the people, and he alienates the nobles. He tries to assert his authority, and he's seen as a tyrant.
No-win situation.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And then, to make matters worse, the financial crisis gets even worse.
Oh, no.
So he decides to call a meeting of the Estates General.
The Estates General, wasn't that, like, a big deal?
Huge deal. It was this representative assembly, but it hadn't met in over 175 years.
Wow. So he's really desperate at this point.
Oh, yeah. He's hoping they can, figure out a way to fix the financial mess.
Okay.
But, as you can probably guess, it didn't go as planned.
What happened?
Instead of focusing on the money, the Estates General turned into this, platform for people to air all their grievances against the monarchy. The Third Estate, which represented the commoners, they were like, we want more power. We want a say in how things are run. They challenged the privileges of the nobility, the clergy, everything.
So this meeting, it just blew everything wide open.
Pretty much. It was like the official start of the revolution.
Wow. And the diamond necklace affair, it's still in the background, right?
Absolutely. Like a ghost haunting the monarchy.
Yeah.
It had ruined the queen's reputation, and now she was the perfect target for the revolutionaries.
A symbol of everything they hated about the old regime.
Exactly. They used the scandal, as propaganda to make her look even worse. Like she was a traitor, a deviant, an enemy of the people. It was all lies, of course.
But in a revolution, perception is everything, right?
Sadly, yeah. It's actually kind of tragic when you think about it. I mean, she was just a woman who got caught up in this whole mess.
A victim of circumstance, really.
Totally. And to think, it all started with a necklace.
It just goes to show, right, how even the smallest thing can have huge consequences.
Well, that was quite the deep dive. I mean, it's amazing how much we can learn from one single event. The Diamond Necklace affair. It really gives you a glimpse into all the complexities of power, perception, and how history unfolds.
Yeah, and it reminds us that history, it's not just about dates and battles and all that. It's about people, their choices, and how those choices can, completely change the course of events.
And sometimes those choices have unintended consequences that just ripple outward, shaping the world in ways we can't even imagine.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us on this journey through history. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and remember, behind every seemingly simple story, there's often a much deeper, more complex truth just waiting to be uncovered.